I'm Andrea DelZotto. Welcome to Leadership Updates and Dialogues. Today we're talking to Samson Fung, VP of Marketing, where he and his team actually tell the stories of how our new communities get born. Welcome, Samson.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Today we're going to talk about our most recent launch, the Dupont, and I think what's exciting is you are taking us behind the scenes to the stories that we usually don't get too up close and personal with. So we're happy to have you introduce us to the Dupont. So let's start with a bit of an introduction just to the Dupont, where it is, what it is, and then we're going to ask you some more background questions to get behind the scenes, as we said.
Sure. So the Dupont is a really fun community that we've started actually quite a ways away. So this is the location of currently location of a Sobeys store. It's located at Dupont and Shaw. So Dupont is just east of Ossington, actually. So it's a relatively short building, 9-story building, but it's come a long way. We've been working on this project for quite a long time. We've actually had to redesign it a few times, but now we're ready to release it to the public.
And so Dupont and Shaw, it's close to our other building, Bianca, not too far from there, correct?
It is. So Bianca is a little bit closer to Dupont and Spadina. So this is a little bit west of of Bianca, and it's the second offering that we've had on Dupont.
Okay. So with the Dupont, I think what people might be curious to know is a bit of the origin of the marketing campaign, which I think is fabulous, by the way. I love it personally. But what were kind of the seedlings or the origin of where do you start when you're marketing a new community? And
Yeah,
specifically, I guess, with the Dupont. Tell us about that one.
So, I mean, it all starts with in collaboration with both project management, development planning, and the other groups that all are involved in putting these projects together. But we start with, and also with the architects and the various consultants, where we start putting together what is this building kind of going to be made up of. So with the Dupont, it was a pretty clear story of it's a very long building, so it almost takes up almost most of a city block, and so it's very long, and a lot of it, the best views are really towards the south. So we decided when we're doing when we're working on the overall layouts of the buildings and stuff like that, that we were going to put some of the larger suites facing south with the best views, looking back to the city, to CN Tower, that type of thing. And on the north, where there is a railway line that kind of goes right through it, right past it, sorry. We've decided to put some of the smaller suites on that side. So as we're kind of developing that, we kind of keep in mind who the overall buyer profile would be. So with some of the north-facing suites, we figure it might be a mix of kind of first-time buyers, young professionals that want to be in the downtown core, but a little bit away from it, because that's really what this location is all about. And on the south side, it would be more of the 2 bedrooms and some of the smaller families or young couples, also looking for a downtown vibe, but just a little bit further away. So when you take all of that together, we work with several outside ad agencies and kind of put that together as part of the overall profile of the building. And when we brief them on it, we kind of come up with, well, if this is kind of the buyer profile, this is the type of people that we want. Mm-hmm. Also keeping in mind the overall Tridel brand, which is usually a bit more of an upmarket, a bit more of a sophisticated type of brand. So keeping all of that in mind, they kind of start rolling into different ideas of what the overall branding could look like.
Sure. Yeah. So and I imagine yeah, like you said, it can't stray too far from Tridel, but each community has its own identity. There's a bit of I guess, industrial feel to the area that we talked about before, and building off of that as well, correct?
Yeah, so with the Dupont, one of the big inspirations, so on top of what we do on the overall product development side, one of the big inspirations that we came across was the overall history of the site. Ossington and the railway line right to the north of it does have kind of this historical industrial type of atmosphere. This was an area where there was a lot of warehouses and trades, that type of thing, were just going past it a lot. So that kind of translated, they took a lot of inspiration from that. The architecture does too. It has a little bit of that warehousey type of feel on those lower floors with the brick patterns. And then that expanded further into this overall brand that is upmarket, is sophisticated, but it has a bit of an edge to it. Sure. So we really like it, and we hope you do too.
Yeah. I mean, it looks beautiful. Some of the pictures of the amenities, and you can see those on the website. But I know that you mentioned some of the players. You've got the ad agencies, you've got the architects. There's a lot of time spent on the facade of the building, what it's going to look like, the exterior, the suite layout, the design. But what about the name? I think people are often curious. I mean, there's simplicity in the Dupont, but they're not always that simplistic, but relevant. So how do you start with the naming of a building?
Yeah, so I mean, sometimes it's easy. Sometimes, and other times it becomes a bit of a you have to go to the drawing board a few times before you come up with it. In this case, actually, we worked with a new agency on this one, and they came up with about, if I recall, about 8 different names. And all of them were really good, and for different reasons or another. And then we kind of shortlisted it down to 3 names based on the overall profile, and all of them took the essence of what we wanted to achieve with the concept of the edginess, with
That
the
that makes
sophisticated
it
as
even
well.
harder when
It
they're all
does, it does. So when we had all these names, and each of them just kind of took a different spin to different things. So the Dupont was what was probably the most direct one,
Mhm.
and what we really liked about it was the fact that, not only, first of all, you know exactly where it is right off the bat. You don't have to even guess with that one. The Dupont residence is east of Ossington. You know exactly where that is, and there's a simplicity to that.
Mhm.
We also, because there's so much happening on Dupont, so we have our own Bianca project. There's another 3 or 4 other developments all happening at the same time with other developers. So we just like the idea of having a building by Tridel called the Dupont, because it kind of just gives us that ownership of that whole street, which we really liked. But some of these other names we were also really creative. So one of them, and I'll talk about it today, is so Bianca, when we named it, was a bit more of a kind of a feminine name.
Mhm.
So we wanted to almost juxtapose that with a bit more of a masculine name for the same building on Dupont. So we wanted, originally, one of the ideas was called Mason Condos. And that the story behind that one was that, well, we liked it, but then turns out that there is another developer called Mason Homes. So we have to take that into consideration, because that
Process of
they
elimination. Process of
there was a
elimination. I'm
process
sure
of
there's
elimination
criteria.
for that.
Yeah. What about
And then the other,
things like domains? Like, do you look at the domains, I imagine, for when
well,
you're
for sure.
registered? Yeah.
We have to we Once we kind of settle on general names, we have to start going up and buying up all these different domains. And the fun part with our industry is that there's so many realtors that get involved. We love them all, we work with all of them, but they're also really, really good at coming up with these domain names and buying them up too.
Yes, I came across them. Some for the Dupont. There's a
Yeah.
lot of sites that are not our site, but there's a lot of pop-up sites based on, I guess, the information they've gathered on their own. But yeah, they can take up a good domain, I imagine.
Yeah, so we actually go around buying up as many combinations of the words as we can, like the DuPontCondos.com, the DuPont by Tridel, and then there's always some combination of the DuPont hyphen backslash Tridel something something.com that we didn't think of, and someone buys
Yeah,
that. So it's a fun
it's
experience.
endless. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's really
endless. But the name is powerful. Because it's not only representing, I think, the community that you're in, but also, like you said, a bit of an extension of the brand. So
absolutely.
it's important to get it right. A couple questions. The stage that we're at now, for people that are curious, what stage of selling are we? Are we selling the Dupont right now?
So we haven't started signing agreements just yet. We're anticipating those signings to start in April, probably around the middle of April. But basically, we're in the process of now doing a pretty extensive preview sessions. So actually, on Thursday, we're going to have the first preview webinar of the Dupont to the overall public. We have quite a few people signed up for that already. And then on the 24th is when we release the prices and floor plans, essentially to the world. And that's when everything kind of gets going. Now,
Yeah, right now you're
on
building
this
the hype. You're building
exactly,
the hype right now.
exactly. Now, everyone on this call, being employees and staff, they can reach out to us directly with the sales team, and we can speak directly with our sales team there, and we can talk about whatever they want. But for the general public, it's we're kind of in a preview mode right now.
Okay. And just to give a sense of the timing as well, because we know the process is a long one when you're building a new community. The estimated completion for the Dupont, would you say 2025?
5 is what
Ah,
we're looking at right now. So we're looking at around May spring of 2025.
okay. It'll be here before we know it.
Yeah,
And it'll be a different world than we're living right now, I'm sure. Uh,
absolutely. Yeah.
the suite ranges. I know some of the amenity pictures I saw, families represented. So is it from 1 bedroom to 3 bedroom? What's the range?
Yeah, so we have generally on the north facing side, we have some of those one bedroom and dens, and that ranges from anywhere between 500 square feet to about 650 square feet. And then we get into two bedrooms in the 900 range, and then we have some more home size suite, is what we've been calling it, in and around that 1100 square foot average. And a lot of them with terraces as well. So there are lots of availability and lots of different ranges for people.
Okay. I'm going to pick your brain later a bit on the terrace topic. So just a heads up. You're going
Sure.
to just heads up. Now I'm going to pick your brain on something a little bit different. I want to talk about the future of sales and marketing from your perspective. But before we do that, I want to go back a little bit because the past year has surely changed how you did things.
Hmm.
And I think, you had maybe a few hiccups along the way, but tell us how you changed the marketing and sales process during COVID.
So we used to have a process where every time we opened up a new launch, and this is pretty much industry wide, is that we would have pretty often just lineups of people coming in, getting brochures, getting information, and that type of thing. So our print budget back in the day was we'd be printing 3,000, 4,000 brochures for every launch just to have it ready. Um, Now we have max of 10 people in the office at any given time, so we don't
Right.
have those lineups of, call it 1,000. I think in the Wells case, when we opened that up in 2 years ago now, when we opened up the Well, we counted about 2,300 people that walked through in that one day.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
um, and that doesn't really work anymore. So
No.
we really had to shift over to a more of a digital experience, and very similar to what we're doing now, but offering. We came out with something last year called Tridel Live. And that was something where it basically gave the option for our consumers and our clients to choose which way they really wanted to interact with us. So it could start off very well with a virtual one like we're doing right now. It
Mhm.
could be in the form of webinars. It could be that they book a self-scheduled appointment on our website, or they go through live chat. But
Right.
offering these different ways to connect with us in ways that they're comfortable with, so that we can still give them all the information and still give them the same level of service that they've come to expect from us.
Right. I think that's important. I think it's going to be a trend we see going forward. I was even hearing about curbside pickup, right? In a
Hmm.
post-COVID world, it's not going to go away because it's a bit of a hybrid model where you may not want something to come to your door from Amazon and you may not want to physically go in the store, but it's still getting you out and it's just a different model that's kind of you're getting your fix in both ways. So I imagine what you're doing is not going to completely disappear in the future and giving people choice is really important.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be had to have this extra convenience in place now. In that we might have had maybe 10 people come in through the sales office, but now because we offer the convenience of being able to connect with someone at home through a virtual meeting, that might be an even higher number going forward.
Yeah.
And I don't see that going away. I think that's going to be there's definitely some efficiencies and things to be gained from having that type of experience.
I had one other question I was thinking of in terms of the pandemic and how it's shaped our perspective a little bit and our behavior. Do you think I had read that the definition of luxury itself now it's more comfort. Comfort is our
Hmm.
new luxury. How do you agree? You're seeing more people spending time at home.
I think it's definitely changed the way that not only luxury, but the way we think of home in general,
Yeah.
and that's translated a lot to even how we do our suite layouts and things like that. Um, Outdoor space, we mentioned before, has now even become more important than it was before with the balconies and the terraces. Now we've been proactive in that realm by putting some of these kind of things in place ahead of time. So some of our projects, Rural Bayview being a great example, all the Bayside projects, they have an abundance of outdoor space on a lot of that project, and that's
Yeah.
something we recognized quite a ways away, and even before COVID even started.
Yeah.
But even now,
I,
just things like dens and offices become more important than they were before, and
yeah.
the ability to have that extra space is just that much more
Yeah.
important.
I have a marketing idea for you. I'm going to just throw at you right now. I was
Sure.
reading something from Ford. It was the head of Ford cars, and he talked about how cars have become increasingly important because there was a surge in, I guess, resistance to taking transit during COVID. So he said, in a way, cars have become a very important piece of PPE. I thought, that's homes. We trumped. Everybody was told to stay at home. So that's it trumps everything on your personal protective equipment in a bit. When home, like you said, how we think about home and define home changed so much. And I think it gave us more of an appreciation. So I thought, okay, there's my idea. Your ultimate PPE is your home. Stay safe, right?
For sure, yeah. We were
Just
actually
my
coming
idea.
out with...
Another one that I thought was interesting was a digital avatar. I don't know if you've heard of her. I just learned about her. Lil Michaela. Have you heard of? So
I haven't, no.
she's a digital avatar musical artist. She's been pairing with brands like Prada, with Minnie Cooper, and they're using her for marketing campaigns. And if you look at her, I think on Instagram, she's got 3 million followers. It's crazy to me. And they say it will be B to R to C, business to robot to consumer, because robots will be running our homes and we'll be going, our gateway will be the robots, not the consumer anymore. So I was like, it just blows me away. So I think we have some time before we start marketing to robots. But if you want to check out Lil Michaela, anybody, that's the world I think we're heading into. And Samson, I'm sure, is going to be preparing for that down the road.
Oh, for sure.
Yes. Finally, I think some career advice when it comes to pursuing a path down marketing. And I think it gets a lot of glory. And it's definitely, if you're not selling, you're not a business. So very critical. And the marketing is an instrumental piece. However, it's got the fun and the fame, but I think it also has a level. That's my work from home. Dog's going crazy. Sorry about that. But it has a level of fatigue. So it's definitely a kind of a very grueling schedule. So what's your advice to people looking for sales and marketing careers?
So I think with sales and marketing, the important thing is really about is experience, and that can come in any way, shape, or form. I actually started in sales. I started at a time when we didn't even. I started even before part-time administrative staff came around, and I was just what they called a model home demonstrator. Mm-hmm. So this was back in 2004. When we had a model home inside the mall at Scarborough Town Center. And so I was there, I think I was 14, and I was basically just there with a clicker counting how many people came in. And that was my first experience working with Tridel. But through that, all of that, it kind of accumulated over the years of all these different things, and just it's very easy to get involved with a lot of on the sales side, because there's just and oftentimes when we have these big launches and things like that, there are extra help that we could use here and there. So having those different types of options and opportunities to grow like that will just gain more experience and more insight into what this whole process is like. Customer service is one of the big things of it. That's an expectation of any salesperson or marketing that you have to have, you have to go through, and it's any experience is valuable in that regard.
Yeah. So, clicking, counting, and appreciation.
I was really good at it.
Master clicker, Samson. So I have a few little from the hip questions to throw at you, which I can promise everybody we've not discussed. I want to see his gut reaction. Favorite Tridel community?
Right now, Aqualuna.
Balconies, yes or no?
Yes.
The best and most necessary amenity?
The high-speed internet.
Yes. And the amenity of the future?
Co-working.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be, especially with more work from home and that kind of thing. It's not necessarily co-working in the sense that you can collaborate and things like that, but also areas where you can do, you can go off, have a little area to do a Zoom meeting and that type of thing. I think that's going to be the amenity of the future.
Yeah, I think you're right. Because as much as we love being home, you sometimes want to branch out a little bit of your home and have a different scene to and maybe different people, a little bit of different company around you. So yeah, I think you're right. I have one final question, and also, it's been about a year. We've been looking at our calendars that we've been living in a pandemic. So I know our Tridel Take Action team is always trying to keep us positive, keep us engaged, and their latest initiative is participating in the NCAA March Madness competition, which I know is I never win at my house. It's all boys and men, so I don't have the expertise that they do in picking. I'm never successful, but we're having the competition. You can participate. You can complete your brackets for men and women, and predict your winner. And you can also make a small donation, I understand, in order to win prizes. So that's just for everybody's information. But I'm going to ask you, Samson, to give me your picks from both the women's and the men's on the spot.
So, I mean, I never win. So
You're
don't
like
ever
me.
take my
We
picks for
never
anything.
win.
I never win. I just keep giving my money away. But for the men's side, I mean, I'm at a loss this year because usually I pick Duke and they're not even in the tournament this year. So I'm going to go with Gonzaga just because I've always liked them for a long time. And I think this year apparently is their best team for a long time. So I'm going to pick them for the men's. And for women's, I think I'm going to go with South Carolina.
Okay, very good. You have your picks.
Don't
I
hold me
don't.
to that. I don't know if I'm going to win. But
Anyway, those are my questions for you. I think that is all of our time, and I'd like to thank everybody for joining us, especially Samson. It was very insightful, and definitely, you're always on your toes. There's always seems to be a new launch, a new community, so you don't look tired. So
not
we
yet.
need to do
But
more.
I'm good for now.
Anyway, thank you so much, and really appreciate it getting behind the scenes and learning more of the ins and outs of what you and your team do every day to successfully launch new communities. So take care, and until the next community, we will be seeing you again. And everyone, thank you for joining, and join us next time for more dialogues and more insights. Thank you.
Thank you.